One of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my first business was registering a private limited company on day zero. Private limited company not only put you under a lot of compliance, but is a very, very difficult entity to shut down. As a very young entrepreneur, like 15 years back when I registered my first business or I started my first business, the first problem that happened was we kind of had this perception that being a private limited company makes us more authentic or makes us look more authentic. So nobody advised us and nobody told us that it doesn't matter whether you are a private limited company or a firm, you can still be authentic if you look authentic to your customers, which means if you serve them well. Having a legal entity in the form of private limited will not make or break the game for you or will not change the market perception about who you are. And I think number two, I would also say the traditional by the book advice that chartered accountant should give you. So my consultant that time was my chartered accountant, and the moment I told him that I want to start a business or scale a business and we're two partners, his default by the book advice was that you should go for a private limited company, right? Wherein the right advice would have been that you can start with a partnership firm, which is easier to register and easier to shut down and has got very, very little compliance. In fact, we ended up paying a lot of money for auditing purposes and even other fees to our chartered accountant, and it was very, very heavy in the books as well, considering we're a very young, very small business. And why we're talking about this in 2023, and this is the last and the most important thing, because today also I see so many young founders that when they start the business, the only reason they go for a private limited company is because they think or they feel that they will go for fundraising and they will have to be ready for it. But let me tell you, not having a private limited company will not make or break your fundraising. Your successful fundraising will depend upon the type of team you have, the traction you have, the product you have, and overall quality of the business model. It will never ever matter, or it will never ever be a make or break based on the legal entity you have. If you are a fundable business and if investors like you can always go back and convert your company, convert your legal entity into a private limited company and then issue shares to the existing investors or the investors who have committed to the money. So you should never go for a private limited company right in the beginning of the business. You should always opt for an entity which is easier to start, easier to manage, easier to shut down, because the job of the founder is not to do compliance and go for fundraising and only run the business because of these two things. Your job as a founder is to solve a problem, serve your customers, and build a business. This should be your fundamental benchmark of starting a business and building a business, and not fulfilling compliance and doing fundraising.